stop. I think both of us were aware of the work of Alison DeForge, so we should just not say she was like Human Rights Watch's main expert on Rwanda, who perished in that crash in Buffalo. So just, I mean, actually, I was thinking in listening to Annika talk, I was like, there are, I'm sometimes not a skeptic about Human Rights Watch. Sometimes I think like they're in the same way of like they're running to a Western beat or whatever. But the people that they have are absolutely amazing. I mean, Alison DeForge was great and rest in peace. But this Annika is incredible because she basically so she came. It was a kind of a wide ranging. It was basically to summarize recent reports about the LRA killings in northern Congo and about recent. You may know that at least on paper, the Rwandan troops being allowed into Congo to chase down Hutu militia. That's supposedly over. There was a ceremony held yesterday to celebrate the departure of the Rwandan troops. Many people are skeptical that they've actually left, but seriously, because they didn't actually complete the job. The FDLR are still around, and according to Human Rights Watch, recently killed 100 civilians in sort of retaliation for having been targeted. So it's all kind of murky. But what it really is that the president of the Congo, Joseph Kabila, is under a lot of pressure, even from his national assembly, to get foreign troops out of the country. So they made a big point of saying the foreigners are all leaving by the end of February. But it's in a strange way, and this is where I give Human Rights Watch credit for sort of really going to the places, getting the names and the numbers. I wish they had better access in Sri Lanka, because when they do these reports, they really get the numbers. And their thing is sort of in both cases, the FDLR in the Kivu, eastern Congo, and the Lord's Resistance Army, northern Congo, these attacks have kind of stirred up a hornet's nest, or the word that she used was, it's like wounded lions, but they haven't finished off either group. And both groups are quite vicious and sort of, seek revenge or try to put themselves back in the news by just killing civilians. So it's hard to I guess what was great about an expert like that, I would encourage you while she's here to try to get her on, because she spoke for more than an hour about just down to the nitty gritty. She called it the Congo soap opera, and she's met Nkunda, she's met this guy Bosco, the number 2. There was actually, here's an ICC thing for you. There was a screening in Bunia, in Ituri, of the first day of the Thomas Lubanga trial. He was a warlord, one of the first ones now accused of recruiting child soldiers as a crime under international law. So he's been sitting in The Hague waiting for a trial for some time, and the trial started recently.
It started just a week and a half ago.
Yeah, Ocampo made the opening arguments. And to their credit, the ICC, as sort of a kind of fresh behind the ears international justice people, they got a church hall in Bunia and put a big screen and wanted to screen it. And I had heard sort of a skeptic sent me an article that it all fell apart, that some supporters of Lubanga came and that the screening had to be canceled. She was there, so she said it wasn't. She said it was very exciting because there were definitely supporters and detractors of this, warlord that attended. You couldn't. It's not like the person didn't have supporters. You know what I mean? I mean, actually, that's always sort of funny in these things. Joseph Kabila himself is quite indictable. You know what I mean? That's all I want to say is I understand that just because justice isn't equal everywhere doesn't mean you don't have to do something. But it does look strange when in the case of the Congo, all of the ones that have been indicted are opponents of the president. And in fact, you almost have the government of the Congo sort of, I feel like they feel they can use the ICC for their own ends.
Right. Well, I don't know. I've actually been trying to follow as best I can this case, and to its credit, the ICC makes sort of they do these video summaries of each day's events, and included in the video summaries sometimes are sort of video documentary evidence. You can see sort of Lubanga,
with the
literally
kids and the rifles, right?
recruiting and training child
I've
soldiers.
seen some of that footage.
You see Lubanga giving orders to kids with AK-47s in their hands, and sort of singing these sort of songs to get them and to march in unison, and it's chilling, but it's I don't know, it's to me almost it sounds detached to say it like this, but it's intellectually fascinating to watch sort of how a modern day war crimes trial actually works. You have these guys in these like optically speaking, you have these people, these men and women in these like robes in a really high tech looking courtroom in The Hague, showing video of
field in Bunia with
of a field far away, with subtitles and it's I don't know, it's fascinating.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've seen it. No, and I think it is. Again, it's not to be too much of a skeptic, but I just want to, since she was there, that's what I thought was good. In part, I think the report that I'd seen that somehow the ICC screwed up wasn't quite the truth, but it ended up going to the same place because the hall wasn't big enough and too many people wanted to see it, and there were, according to her, there were these students, some of whom were UPC or Lubanga supporters, outside the hall saying let them in. They ended up canceling the ICC, and it was the ICC was the one doing the screening. They canceled the afternoon session, saying it would be too volatile. The upshot of it was, though, is that only Ocampo's opening was shown, and the defense opening statements weren't shown, which left a lot of people in the area saying, this is it's a propaganda thing. And I think what I was glad to hear from her is that it wasn't like intentionally one-sided. It's just that it didn't work out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no.
But that's again why I give it. I mean, really, it was like fascinating because this but I mean, the thing about it, and this is I had traveled up, obviously not in real time when it was taking place, but these murders committed by the Lord's Resistance Army after the Ugandans and the Congolese and the South Sudanese tried to knock them out, and she said it's just in all her and Human Rights' time in the Congo, they never saw anything like it. Literally, like these guys, they did it at Christmas, I guess, to sort of try to send a message like, never assault us again, or this is what we'll do. They went to churches where people were there for Christmas ceremonies and like beat them to death with sticks. They had them like calling out to like so other people would come to the party, and then they killed those people. So just some outrageous stuff. And the one thing that was sort of I feel hasn't been sufficiently followed up on was this uncontested New York Times, to their credit, report that the U.S. was involved in funding and planning the assault on the LRA. And I mean, I think it probably is. If you're going to do it, I mean, I think a lot of people are saying the U.S. should get more involved in like hunting down or apprehending war criminals. But if you're going to do it, it's crucial. I think that when the U.S. definitely like stepped back when it went awry, and I think that clearly somebody screwed up here in the sense that. Okay, nobody. I mean, it probably was foreseeable that like the day might have been cloudy and you couldn't actually kill the leader of the LRA that day, and it seems pretty uncontested that there were not sufficient precautions taken either by the Ugandans or we can say the UN. The UN has a peacekeeping mission, is understaffed as it always says it is. She said from Human Rights Watch, she said the UN wasn't told about the assault until hours before it began, which lets the UN a little bit off the hook for not being able to protect civilians, but it doesn't let the U.S. off the hook. Why didn't the U.S.?
Well, what's interesting about this U.S. involvement is to me that this seems to be one of the first things that AFRICOM did. I don't know how aware viewers are, but over the last year, the United States opened a new command, a new central command for Africa called AFRICOM. Prior to that, all of Africa fell under sort of the European command, but now it sort of has its own command. And it's brand new, and then they're saying they're going to sort of try to do things a little differently with AFRICOM. They're going to, I think a civilian is the number 2 person there, and they're trying to do a little more humanitarian work, some more state building, just sort of try to do more than simple sort of traditional military assistance, but try to add some civilian elements as well, which is all noble, and I'm all for. But this was sort of AFRICOM's one of their first big actions, and it seemed to have been a failure. So I don't think it augurs well for this sort of new experiment.
Right, and I think exactly that's why I also meant there was just sort of a failure to follow up, because it's really striking to me that this idea that and I may when it was said Doctors Without Borders came out with a report saying that the UN peacekeepers were